Hit Film Sensei here. Today we're going to talk about the basics of how to rotoscope your lightsaber footage. These are just the basics and some basic tips that I want to give you. All right, we're going to start with this footage. This is a basic footage. We're not going to use much of it, but we're going to show it. It has two lightsabers here, the green lightsaber and the red lightsaber. We're going to start with the green lightsaber. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer called plane. I'm going to call it green saber. Okay, and I need to make sure that it's a white plane. Okay, then that plane exactly covers this entire area. The first thing that you need to do, and do not forget to do this, is you need to up the scale to about 110%. That is, so now it's bigger by 10%. That is just in case the lightsaber actually goes off the screen, then the glow will continue to go off the screen. That is very, very important, okay? All right, now, the next thing you want to do is, I'm just turning off the saber layer just for a second. The next thing that you want to do is you want to look at how the saber is moving, because that will determine how, see how that goes off the screen? That's why we go to 110%. That will determine how you are actually going to mask these things, okay? And the bottom line is these are in big arcing circles, so you'll probably want 5 or 6 point masks, each with a couple of handles. So we're going to start by creating a 5-point mask. So I'm going to use my masking tool, and this is very important, and I'm just going to create this mask. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then create it together, okay? And if I turn back on now, you can see that that's where that is, okay? Now, just so you know, what will happen is we will end up bringing in the preset. So I'm going to click on my presets. This is my Inkscape digital presets, the lightsaber presets. And I'm just going to bring in a green blade. I'm going to just drop it right on there and poof. There's your green blade preset. It's really that simple, okay? And if you were to move, one of these corners, then the whole thing moves, okay? So that's basically that. That's a 5-point mask. I would also, and I'm going to rename that 5-point mask, okay? And then I'm going to create a 6-point mask. I'm actually going to cheat. I'm just going to duplicate the 5-point mask, rename it 6-point, and you go, well, wait a minute, there's not 6 points on that mask. Yeah, but there will be here in just a second. Let me slide it off. That's it. It's the duplicate, and I'm just going to click on a line and create a new point. So there's my 6-point mask. Okay, now what are the extra points for? These extra middle points are for the arcing. Okay, well you go, that doesn't look like much of an arc, and it isn't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that little guy, and I'm going to say make a locked curve out of it. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one, make a locked curve out of it. Now you can see that it's very curved, and you're going to use that. I'm going to do the same thing up here, right click, make a locked curve out of it, okay? All right, so now that is locked, locked curve, okay? That's very important. Okay, locked means that when I move these handles, they move each other, right? And that's really important because, if I need to expand that or shorten it or turn it, it's almost always going to be a locked. Rarely will you need anything beyond a locked curve, okay? So let's say I move a little bit into my my swing here, and you can see that it's sort of swinging in. Okay, I might use that. I'm going to turn this off. I might use this. Maybe this is swinging from off the screen to about to there, to about to there, and this is actually going to be more like here, and I'm going to turn this like this. Okay, and maybe I'll expand it just a bit. Then I may, this may be swinging not too much here, okay? And I just sort of like this, maybe, okay? So now they're really like that, okay? All right, and if I bring on this thing and then I reset the size, you can see how it's curving into its swing like that, okay? Yeah, this is really terrible job here, but you get the idea, okay? All right, so the bottom line is Oh my gosh, that was really terrible, wasn't it? Yeah, like this. Okay, this would be more like that. Okay, yeah. And that's more what it would look like. Okay, that kind of blurred effect there. Okay, but we're going to go back to the beginning. All right, now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my 6-point mask and I'm going to just move it off to the side because I don't... Excuse me. I'm going to take my 6-point mask and I'm just going to move it off to the side because I'm not going to need it at this moment. I'm also going to create a 4-point mask because the reality is that I probably will use that to start my masking blade here with. Okay, just like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So my 5-point mask, I'm going to again, grab it, and I'm just going to move it off to the side. Okay. All right, so now there it is. All right, now what I need to do is that I actually need to create a path that this will follow as these things go on. I use my period key to move forward, and I use my comma key to move backwards. As you can tell right now, it's not moving anywhere, but I'm going to change that by clicking on, well, let me rename that 4-point. And I'm going to transform, and on the path properties, I'm going to keyframe that path property. That is very important, okay? Now, here's a little tip, and this is really important because, you know, why would you work in such a small space when you could work in the entire screen? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on the top of my viewer container and say float the container, okay? And then I'm going to click this, which makes it into a small thing, but then when I click it again, makes it into a full size, so I can really zoom in here on it like that. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my freehand mask tool. Okay, now that I have keyframed it, and I'm going to use my right mouse key to slide things around a bit, and I just want to clean that up a bit like that. I want that to look really good. Okay, now I'm going to move forward 1 frame, and then I'm going to move my mouse, my path. Okay, now do you notice something here? It's really hard to see the path, isn't it? Because the lightsaber blade itself is actually in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn off that saber, so that way all you see is the path itself, and then it's very easy to move this path with. Right, and now we move it again, and we move these points one at a time, just like this. And this is how it happens. This is how you actually create your lightsaber blade. Now, see, I already have a problem. The blade, the prop itself is warped a bit. I'm going to have to cheat this and come up just a bit to cover it because I want to make sure that it is covered. Okay, and I can always turn it on again and see if it's really covered, and it is, so that's the good news, right? Turn it back off. Okay, now here's the thing though. If I back up, you can see that the blade is following my, or the mask, I mean, is following the blade prop exactly where I told it to be. Up, up, up. Okay, and now I'm going to use my right mouse tools, and we're going to continue. But notice that I'm using the full size of the screen. There's just no reason why I need to use part of a size of the screen. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. So go ahead and use the full size of the screen. Might as well, right? Okay, now notice it's going off the screen here. Okay, what happens now? Well, it's really simple. What you do is oh, it's not going off the screen. Never mind, it's not going off the screen yet, but it will shortly. I can guarantee it. But it is warping a bit because she's starting to swing it. And so now it's off the screen. What I'm going to do is all I have to do, it doesn't matter where I place those points off the screen, it will end up off the screen, and that's all that matters, okay? So as long as they go clean off the screen like that, okay? Now, if I were to redock that, and then I can reposition in the classic look here so that I get a feel, I can rescale to fit, and then turn back on my saber. You can see that that glow goes all the way to the edge. If I didn't have that 100 set, then it wouldn't, and that would not be a good deal. So now you can see I've rotoscoped the first handful of frames here with this, okay? And that's how I do it. Every single frame, I just keep going. Now, if it's not moving very fast, then I can actually skip forward a couple of frames and then see how close it is, because chances are it will actually, the in-between frame will be good. I've actually skipped forward as far as many as 5 or 6 frames if it's hardly moving at all. So if it's hardly moving at all, then you can let the computer, you can let the software do some of the extrapolation for you. So that's the basic idea of how to actually rotoscope the Saber. Like I said, very important that you be very precise on doing that. Now, let's say that it starts getting really big and I decide, yeah, I'm going to use one of the other masks. It's very simple, okay? So let's say I get to this point and I say, yeah, that one isn't working for me anymore. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to grab that 4-point mask, and on the next frame, I'm going to drag it clean out of frame. So now it was in frame and then poof, it's out of frame, okay? The frame beforehand, maybe I'm going to go to my 5-point mask, okay? So the frame beforehand, I'm going to actually keyframe the mask there, and now it's been keyframed. It will stay there the entire time until that point. Then, let's say I want to bring the whole thing in here. Okay, now I'm going to turn it off, I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to get some freehand masking here done. And let's say that I want a little bit of a blur with a curve edge on it or something. That would be great. Okay, and so I'm just going to bring this down to about there, because now let's say it's moving really fast. I can swap out the mask very quickly and easily, right? And now that mask has taken over where the other mask was. If I turn this back on, then you can see that that mask is gone and the other mask is in place, right? You can see that there's that one, and then boom, it shows up. In the meantime, the 4-point mask, which was there, now goes away. It's way up here, right? The 4-point mask is way up there. So that's sort of how you would actually, use different masks. And so you can have a 4-point, 5-point, 6-point, whatever masks you want. This is also how you will, in fact, deal with a mask that goes behind somebody. You would use 2 masks. So you'd have a mask on one side, a mask on the other. And sometimes you have to use more than 1 mask or more than 2 masks if there are several things that it went behind. At one point in this video, it went behind my actress's hair, and I had to kind of work in between some pieces of hair. And I use several masks to make that happen. So that is the basics of how to rotoscope using the lightsaber presets that you can download from Inkscape Digital. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button. And thanks for watching.